Hello and welcome to My Finance Teacher YouTube channel. Let's have a look at short-term prospects for the price of gold. In front of you is a daily chart of gold going back for about half a year. And as you see on the chart, if you look at the upper part of the chart, the RSI, this is a 10-day RSI, has just entered into the overbought region. We're now nearly at 74. So for that reason, and also since we are stretched over the 20-day moving average, which is the blue line, as well as the 50-day moving average, which is the red line, I don't expect gold to continue going up for a significant amount of time and a significant amount of dollars. However, I think this short-term uptrend that we've been enjoying since the late January is going to continue for another short while. Let's zoom in a little bit. And this is my expectation for the gold price. This short-term uptrend will continue for another probably few days, maybe a week or so, when it will turn down. However, this correction in the gold price, this decrease, is not going to last long, and we'll come back to the reason for that in a minute. To continue about this uptrend, although we are already at the overbought levels, nearly 74, this uptrend might actually continue for slightly longer than a week as well, because this overbought levels can get more extremely overbought. For example, in January last year, the 10-day RSI has reached even the levels of 90 or greater, the levels of 90 or higher. But of course, as you know, in January last year we've enjoyed an unusually beneficial rally in the gold price. So anyway, this upward trend is going to continue for a short while, I think, when we will see a correction in gold price. However, again, there is no need to panic. The correction is not going to be long-lived, and this short-term top in the gold price that we will see in a week or two is not going to be the top of our intermediate cycle. We'll continue going up after this short-term correction into April or May, and let's have a look at reasons for that. One of the reasons for that is the 200-day moving average in gold, which is not shown on this graph, is still higher than where we are at the moment. The gold price at the moment is only higher than the 20-day and 50-day moving average, whereas the longer-term 200-day moving average is still above us, which means the price is still in the long term stretched down, and it will have a tendency to revert to the mean by going upwards. So that's not a long, rather than an intermediate prospect for gold into April or May. However, coming back to the short term, this correction in gold price that will come in a week or two is not expected to be severe, and one of the reasons for that, as I mentioned, is because the long-term moving average is above us. Another reason for that is because we are in an upward trend of this intermediate cycle, so the corrections are not long-lived. The corrections are going to be more severe when we enter a declining stage of this intermediate cycle past April or May. And another reason for that is what is happening with US dollar, because the movements in US dollar are often but not always negatively correlated with the movements in the gold price. So in US dollar, this chart in front of you is the daily price of the dollar index going back over about a year, and since May last year, the dollar has been in an advancing stage of the intermediate cycle, and we've topped at the beginning of this year, and we are now in the declining stage of this intermediate cycle for the dollar. And the recent low that we saw in early February, late June, early February, is not the low of this whole intermediate cycle. We will continue downwards for at least another correction, and that correction is likely to come soon, because the uptrends are not usually long-lived when the asset is in the declining phase of an intermediate cycle. If you look at the 10-day RSI here, you will see that we're only at neutral levels. We are very far from overbought, which means generally that the tendency for the value to correct downwards is minuscule. However, again, since we're in the declining phase of this intermediate cycle for the US dollar, the uptrends are not generally long-lived. Let's have a look at the declining phase of the previous intermediate cycle in the US dollar. We'll see that the corrections downwards came even before the 10-day RSI has reached anywhere close to overbought levels. So if the behavior is anything like normal, we'll probably expect the dollar to turn down soon again, which will help the gold price and probably make this upcoming correction in the gold price short-lived. This is not investment advice, of course, but I wish you luck.